Before I start, I would like to share this with everyone because I want people to understand that I pretty much know what I'm talking about when I talk about the subject. This book is, of course, one of my poetry anthologies or poetry collections, The Voices of South Central. Now, that name alone, South Central, has provoked quite the controversy and conversation that's needed. And also, it goes back to a time when peace on the streets of LA was very difficult to have, but also meant an area and a narrative pushed by the media to reflect on the violence that took place in this community, this larger neighborhood of Los Angeles. Born and raised here, I have seen just about everything that goes on. Not everything, not everything, but let's just say I've seen quite a few things that took place in this neighborhood that I wrote about in my books. Of course, you saw the cover of The Voices, but I also wrote a book entitled Storm over South Central, in which I describe in poem and in short stories the issues that take place in the community, such as businesses, gang violence, and also romance, and a little bit of everything. Because a community should not be defined by one incident or one thing that takes place here. But I've always suggested that South Central or South LA, as people like to call it, and I'll talk about that in a minute, there's a community of many different people who want to live and they want to have peace in their neighborhood or in the community and want to do right. They want to see the community transform. And I'm very happy that we have local businesses by people from the community who live in the community and trying to improve the community. If only our politicians who are from the community did the same thing, we'd be all right. But, writing books with a name entitled South Central on them, you do get a little pushback from individuals who feel that the narrative of South Central Los Angeles, as reflected in the movies, as reflected in the music, as reflected in conversations and our celebrities and what have you, that they just want this community not to be defined by all that. And I understand that tremendously. That's why in recent years, as I said in another video on the subject, I started referring to this as South LA. But for someone who used the title in most of my articles, or article in college and in the books that I write about South Central, it's important that that narrative has to be challenged. You have to challenge that narrative about South Central Los Angeles. All there is just bad people that live there and gangs and drugs and all these other stuff that goes on. Because South Central is just more than all that. There is some positive in it. But many people have been receiving a negative for so long that it's been fed in their minds that even you, watching this, may say something about the community which I was raised in for so long. You will be surprised to know there are scholars who live in this community. There are actual people who have done well in their schooling and are tremendous geniuses, A's and B's, actors, actresses, community leaders, politicians, you name it. People that want to improve the quality of life in South Central. People that want to live in South LA, walk the streets, ride their bicycles. In fact, I saw a video of people from the West Side who like to ride their bikes, rode all the way down to what was something in the neighborhood, a restaurant, an old former restaurant in the neighborhood, and ate right down the street from me, and then rode past my house. And you did not hear them commenting on the neighborhood like, we had to watch out, it's dangerous here. And no, they sat down, they had a nice meal, and then they went back to Inglewood, I believe, and had a nice meal there too. But no negative commentary. There wasn't any remarks of we have to watch out for the gangs or we have to watch out for the drug dealers, because as of the unrest and other events that took place, that doesn't happen anymore. At least not so low it was in the 80s and 90s, early part of the 90s. So South Central Los Angeles still has to fight this narrative about how bad everyone is, how everyone's engaged in drugs, how everyone's engaged in crime, and so much that you have people like the federal government come down and try to correct us. But no, we're back. When you're dealing with a neighborhood or a community such as South Central Los Angeles, you have to understand that the media, who does not understand the area that you live in, that they will have wild imaginations about this. And yet I find that seasoned reporters such as Ted Koppel back in 92, when the unrest happened, would go into the streets, stand on a corner not far from a house, and just speak to the camera and treated us like regular people. He talked to individuals that you may not even want to talk to, and he didn't sensationalize it. He just spoke with the people. He wanted to find answers as a real journalist should. Didn't make a big deal out of it. Asked questions, got answers, made us feel like there was something more than what was being shown on television. The drive-bys, the unfortunate tales of mothers losing their children, all of that. The narrative needed to stop at that point because we had absorbed years of that from the media outside and from our own people who really wanted to make something of it that was never there. But all I can just tell you is that in the years since that time, I feel much better walking down the street. I'm not being stopped by any gangbangers about the colors that I wear. I'm not being accosted by anyone. I just walk down the street. I take my walks down even streets that I never thought I would. When I was in recovery and I had to walk by the orders of my doctor, I just walked down streets I never thought I would walk. I was afraid to walk as a young man because I'm a certain gangs that would be there. But I walked and nothing happened. Even though I did walk by a block in which a friend of mine lost his life there, a constant reminder of the way life used to be here, I can just say that South Central, or South LA, or whatever one you prefer, it doesn't matter, but the narrative stopped when all of that stopped, and it needed to end. And now what needs to be a better narrative is that South Central is a place in which they have businesses that you can go to, like my friends from the West Side who just fearlessly biked their way down here to a nice restaurant here in South LA, ate, had a good time, and that was that. Or you can be like the rest of the media, hold narratives that are long past their time, had their due date is expired, and just are not really facts anymore. They're fictional by this point. And yes, we sing the music, How to Survive in South Central. We still sing that's a classic song. We watch the movies, Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society. We watch them. We constantly the time capsule of how life was back then here in LA. But that's about it. It's only a time capsule. It's not real anymore. And even though the gang violence has slowed to a crawl, not like it was in the late 80s, in the late 80s and 90s, it's still a constant reminder that these things just never go away. But it's not to a level where it was. You have to watch your back. You have to look around. I mean, you can still do that, but I would just say that as of right now, in 2026, life in South Central is a little bit better than it was back in those days. A whole lot better. Demographics have changed with a lot of different families from a lot of different backgrounds, and gentrification is slowly starting to creep in. So you see people that you never thought you would see in South Central Los Angeles walk the streets with their dogs. But as long as they treat us with respect, they get that respect back, no doubt. So that's what I wanted to share with you, because I think it's important that even though local businesses are starting to use South Central as a way to say, hey, we're in the neighborhood, we're in South Central, take a look at us, see what we're doing for the community, see what we're doing for the neighborhood, and continue to progress in that way in which the neighborhood, everyone benefits. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's what we've been asking for the longest time. We have been requesting businesses to come down here and come and take a look at us. I remember back in 1994, President Bill Clinton was right down the street with a big crowd, Maxine Waters. There was a real big crowd assembled in the down in the neighborhood. Big crowd, just to hear the president come down, speak about plans for empowerment zones and all that, even though they weren't popular, I guess, but it was still planned. At the time, we would say, hey, you're talking about it, we want to hear about it. And even though that never came to fruition, it just showed that South Los Angeles was a community that people wanted to invest in, and people wanted to see the value in it. And I'm very glad to see that where I live, not only do we have a outstanding business that has served the community, who is now serving people, even though they're catering to South Central residents, and many people on social media are starting to prop up this business, and more on the way in this one construct, or one retail center that's about to have a mixed retail and affordable housing center. There's still more that can be done. There are a lot of old buildings in this community that need to be remodeled or torn down. Now, of course, this has a lot of history, but still, we're living in a community that needs to have a refresh as far as retail, as far as businesses thriving, as far as people taking advantage of those businesses so everyone benefit. It's not just online, but people will feel much better if you go into an actual store and support the people in there. Because again, you can't get everything online, even though there are tons of online retail shops by small business people and just corporations. So I just wanted to share that with you, and I hope that this kind of, gives you a sense of where people in South LA are now, even though people use the word South Central a lot to say, hey, we're here in South Central, we're doing good things here, check us out. Because to me, it just shows that they're breaking the narrative about this community that the media has long placed on it. And it's about time that needs to stop. We need to take that narrative, like I try with my books, and repurpose it to where it becomes, you say the word South Central, you say it's a community where people are thriving and trying to do their best to uplift the entire city of Los Angeles, and not just the one area, but for all the people in Los Angeles to check out and support. And that's all I have to say. I do want to thank you for watching this video. Sorry for a little break there, but I had business to take care of. I just want to thank you all for watching and supporting me. And yes, reach out for the book. If you'd like to find this book, please visit my website, which is up top, the banner. Click on that. Go to the book section, and you would like to order The Voices of South Central, even Storm over South Central, or Relay, Strange Tales of Science Fiction, or It's All About Fate. Please be my guest. But I will invite you to do that. Yeah, but if you like what you see in the video, you like more content like this, don't forget to like and of course subscribe. And also if you want to comment, please do so about your opinions. Oh, your opinions about South Central Los Angeles or South LA, and how to break the narrative, how to shake the narrative to the ground and rebuild it to where it's a positive narrative. Even though we try, the past is always going to be with us. The effects of the past are always going to be with us. Every time you walk down the street, again, I told you, walk down the street to a block where my friend was murdered, and you can never get that away from you, because it's always a constant reminder what the past used to be, but the present, something new, and we're trying to build something better. So thank you for your support, and I really appreciate you. So always in closing, I want to wish you all the best. Whenever you're watching this, have a good day, evening, week, and I would say, once again, to everyone out there watching, take care.